So if you can hear me, see me, give me a little sign. I'm thinking we're all good in terms of AV today. Awesome. Last day of September. Where did the year go? Hey? Well, we know all of September we've been doing our real estate investing webinar series on building income streams and wealth for everybody. And today, the topic is how to maximize cash flow. A lot of us, we tend to switch or interchange the word cash flow with profit. However, we do focus on cash flow more on a monthly basis rather than at the year end, we do a P&L, profit and loss analysis. And so how to maximize cash flow with short and midterm rentals. Proudly presented to you by Trust Your Talent today. And again, I am just here to do a quick intro to many of you who this may be your first time getting to know us and kind of checking us out. And I just do want to share this with you. Our lawyers are always happier when we get our assets covered. So always need to put that disclaimer sign up. At the same time though, I don't know about you. I don't have a lot of letters behind my name. And so what that really means is I always like to make things easy to understand for people. And again, at Trust Your Talent Academy, this is how we like to pass on our knowledge and experiences, simply because of the fact that we got to make it easy to understand. And I also like what Einstein said, okay? If you cannot explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't really understand it yourself. So what that really meant is we are here really purely as professional and educated investors that are in the trades doing what we're teaching other people to do, meaning investing. It's just that at this point, all of the training team, the trainers, the coaches, and the mentors on the training team, we've gone into different asset classes. What we all do have in common, however, is the fact that we all leveraged real estate investing as our backbone to build our income sources, financial independence, and financial freedom first. That further supported our other ventures. And at the same time, we want to share with you that we believe that being an educated and professional investor is likely the most powerful position to be in. Why? Because we are constantly learning how to leverage other people's knowledge, OPK, other people's time, other people's experiences, and other people's expertise, as well as other people's money. I know so many times people only hear about OPM, other people's money. Great. We definitely need that to scale, no doubt. However, there are so many other factors. And just think about it this way. I know so many people that want to go into real estate investing. They decide that, oh, maybe I should get licensed as a realtor. Wait, maybe I should get licensed as a mortgage broker. Oh, no, hang on a second. I got to understand taxes and legalities. Well, how long is it going to take to get all those degrees and certificates under your belt before you can actually start investing? And we all know that at TYT, we say time is not just money, time is everything. So learning how to leverage OPK, OPT, OPE, and OPM truly is the most powerful position to be in. Now, we always encourage you, you've made the time already, unless it's a safety issue, okay? Keep your cameras on as much as you possibly can, because we know that this way you stay more engaged. I know sometimes it's adult learning. You're going to wander off a little bit. That's okay. We get that. It's the Zoom world still somehow. So just keep your camera on. We don't mind. If you're snacking, we just kind of wish that we were in the same room together so you can share. But with that said, I do want to remind everybody that this video is being recorded and may be used for marketing purposes. If for nothing else, well, this is something that everybody needs to know. It's the fact that maybe you missed the previous 4 webinars already. This is the last one on this webinar series. Starting October, we will have a whole new series coming up as well. But if you missed them, just in case you missed them, they have all been put on YouTube already in the under the Trust Your Talent YouTube channel. So make sure you go and find them. And I want to decode this a little bit for everybody, because at the end of the day, we always say we choose the strategies to contribute to the goals. Okay, we choose the strategies to contribute to the goals. And so how to purpose build the first webinar that we did this month, how to purpose build your properties for maximum profit. The strategy behind that is infill and project management. And the next one is how to create unlimited funding for your deals. It's what we call creative financing. Creative financing covers such a huge topic and covers such a wide area that at Treasure Talent, creative financing is actually broken into 3 parts. And the part that we cover it is joint ventured partnership structures as well as registered funds. And again, that course is going to be happening and offered live for 3 days during our annual conference, along with a few others. So I will share that with you as well. The next one is how to invest in US foreclosures remotely and effectively. We have a Florida native, not Christoph in this case, but we do have a Florida native who has been investing in the Florida market for 23 years at this point, and she is what we call the foreclosure queen. Okay, and so the thing about it though is that Americans, if you're in this room, it's already much easier for you, just logistically speaking. However, we know that at Treasure Talent, the majority of our student body at the moment still, and the community still resides and are Canadians. And so what that means is we wanted to find a way to help Canadians really leverage foreclosure buying in the US and foreclosure investing, simply because of the fact that, I mean, Christoph, you can probably comment on this, having been there for 2 years now, there are no true foreclosures in Canada. And so as Canadians, we like to go south of the border for that very reason. I just saw you not there. Thank you. And also, not too long ago, a few nights ago, we covered how to make money in economic conditions. And that is what we call real estate investing fundamentals. Again, we always say that when you're equipped with the proper knowledge, expertise, and experience and mentor trainers around you, you can learn how to make money and literally make money once you've applied what you've learned. Doesn't matter if the market's going up, going down, or even going sideways. I've been living in Alberta for 14 years now. The market has gone sideways and down for us quite a number of times in comparison to all the other cities, provinces, and states. And so I want to say that, you know, I really love the fact that I chose to get financially educated first before I learned how to buy real estate. And that's the main difference when you guys come to a Treasure Talent webinar. Yes, we're going to back it up with a strategy. Chances are it's going to be based on real estate as an asset class. However, what we teach first and foremost is financial education. How to help you get out of the rat race, get to financial freedom, or get to financial independence where you do not rely on anybody else, regardless of economic conditions, to be able to generate income. Because we like safety. Like you, we're also just regular people. We just started learning and applying before you did to make a difference in our own lives, financially speaking, and in so many other ways. And so who is Treasure Talent? For those of you who have never been on a webinar with us yet, I want to share with you, largest financial education programs and training team. We have, at this particular point, 19 different structured courses. Our goal is to make sure that we create and develop and train well-rounded investors, not just train buyers. That's not what this is about, because when anybody has some resources and the times are good, anybody can make money from the market. The art and the science and the skills really, really come in when the market's not going what the majority of the people want it to go. However, right now, educated investors, we're having a ball. Why? Just like what Warren Buffett says, when others are greedy, be fearful. And when are people greedy? When the markets are good and they have resources. But when others are fearful, be greedy. What that means simply is the fact that when you're equipped the right tools, once again, you're able to capitalize on opportunities way more than the 99%ers out there. And our trainers, mentors, coaches, we come from a very, very diverse background in terms of investing and making business decisions. So we know that we are able to support many, many walks of life As long as you have the why, we have the how to help you get there. And most complete investing programs, as well as the most bespoke curriculum. What does that mean? Everybody simply has different financial goals. Yes, the big label is financial independence or financial freedom. We get it. However, everyone's situation is different. Your goals are different. Your numbers are different. What's going to make you happy, what's going to set you free is all different. But more importantly, just like a GPS, in order for us to help you get to where you want to be, we also need to know where you are. Otherwise, we're not able to plan that route to get you there. And where you are today is also different from person to person. And this is why we like to say it's very tailored. Your journey to your financial success should never, ever, ever, how many evers did I say now? 3, right? Should never, ever be one size fits all. And this is why I personally am forever puzzled when people just learn how to buy certain types of properties. That's not what we do here. We want you to fully understand the pros and cons of each strategy. It's not always rainbows and butterflies, and we never, never hide behind that, okay? We always say, especially if you're leveraging real estate investing to build your income sources and long-term wealth, it is not a get-rich-quick thing, okay? At the same time, it is definitely, definitely, when you do it right and follow the steps, it is definitely a get rich for sure path that you can all take on. And we all walk the walk. Why is that so important? Because we know in this particular industry, there are people that basically base it on volume. And maybe they've done something really great 5-10 years ago and they've stopped investing. So what this really means is that at Trust Your Talent, many people in this room already know, because you're already in the community, we all are active business owners and investors in various asset classes. And that is a mandate that we've set for ourselves so that everything that we're sharing with you is timely and still relevant. And next one is full immersion for 1 to 2 years. We believe that rewriting your entire financial blueprint for life, it's not a weekend thing. It's not really a one webinar thing, okay? It is something that you have to decide to embark on, because there are so many different money programs that we've all absorbed over the years that's preventing us from achieving the financial successes that we need. For example, buying pre-constructions, saving money, just get a degree, get a good job, and hopefully you're going to continue to get promoted. But then that doesn't really make a lot of people happy. And so we know that when it comes to financial education, it takes a bit of time to rewire and set yourself on a new path to freedom. And last but not least, we are the only education-only company when it comes to financial education. It is a pure academy. What does that mean? First of all, there is no zero conflict of interest. No mentor, trainer, and coaches will teach you just enough and come to you and go, by the way, I have a deal now. I know you have money because I trained you. Invest with us. We don't do that. That is strictly prohibited. And so really what we want to do is, as we say, everybody knows the saying, you give a man or a woman a fish, they eat for a day. However, if you teach them how to fish, they eat for the rest of their life. And that's really what we want to do here at Trust Your Talent. And to put it simply, and I know some people, they're like, that sounds a little bit crass. However, I'm just going to say it. Nobody on the team, on the training team, needs your money. We are all free. We all know how to make more money when we want to, when we need to. Okay. And that's really what we stand for, is that somebody else did it for us. They trained us up to this point that we can be fully independent. And we want to make sure that you get there too, so that you are able to become an independent thinker when there are opportunities knocking on your door. It's just that way too many people are not educated enough to make the proper decisions for themselves. So on that note, well, today I am not taking the spotlight any longer at this point. Today, we have our very own award-winning trainer and mentor, Mr. Gustavo Garcia Herreros. And he is the trainer here at TYT, especially for 2 very, very helpful and useful strategies, whether you are brand new or experienced. And I'm going to bring him up now, let him share his screen, and then let him take over from this point forward. And while he's doing that, I will share this with you. Once he's done sharing what he's prepared for, I'm going to share a few next steps with you, and then we're going to come back. We're going to come back together and do an open Q&A with everyone. So I know the chat box might be lighting up as he's going through it. We've done this a few times now. However, just hold your horses unless you really have a burning question, then you make sure you get our attention. With that said, though, passing it on to you now, Gustavo.
Thanks, team. Thanks. Sorry if I cough a little bit. It just, I'm been coming out of a little bit of a flu or cold. I don't know. But, my voice is still a little rusty sometimes, and I'll try not to cough on you as much. Thanks again, team. Glad to be here. Glad to share. The idea today is going to give you a little bit of a rundown of what service accommodation is. And before we go there, because I know service accommodation sounds like a big world, do we know what that is, guys? Anybody has an idea, an opinion of what service accommodation is?
It's like an Airbnb.
Like Airbnb? It's one of them. Yes, it's one of them. But we're going to talk about what service accommodation is. We're going to talk about how to maximize your money with that, and what the service accommodation with TYT course has to offer you. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation, then Jake and everybody else, to what it really is service accommodation. And if you can see, service accommodation refers to fully or partially, note that I'm saying it twice, furnished properties which are available for short-term, mid-term, and even long-term rentals. So yes, Airbnb could qualify within the short-term, mid-term category. We got VRBO, we got Expedia, we got all those vacation rentals. We got some other stuff like student rentals. We have executive rentals, but it offers an integral solution to travelers, students, and business professionals and the companies themselves that employs them to shelter, to accommodate for a few days. Again, could be a one-day night, could be a full year round of sheltering. They're looking, a place to stay, to spend some time, quality time. And then we're talking again about vacation rentals, Airbnbs, all that stuff, rooming houses, executive, and even hotels, motels. Now, today I'm not going to touch into motels, hotels, because the truth to that is there's a little bit more to it than just, a simple accommodation. It's a whole new world in that sense, but we'll touch a little bit on the other three. Is that fair? Okay, so forward. Here's a quick sample of what it looks like when you have a vacation rental or an Airbnb listing, right? You see the properties are listed with nice pictures, open, wide, colorful. It kind of displays all corners of the house. A few of the amenities, the biggest attractions of the house, or features of the house. It's kind of provoking you to click on the picture so you can see more. That's the idea of Airbnb. That's the idea of VRBO and all those sites, right? We all have, or we've seen as well, what executive rentals do, which are very, very similar to short-term rentals, to Airbnb. But in the only, or the biggest difference here, guys, is this, it's a little, or adds a little bit more of luxury, upscale, if you will. The amenities in these houses are normally much better. They offer a few things like cleaning services all day long. They got gym, they got concierge. These are hosting pretty much high executive and tends to be a little bit more pricey, obviously, because the furnishing and everything in the house might even be more luxurious, if that makes sense, right? So this is a slight upgrade in refers to properties like or listings that you find in Airbnb or so. Okay, and then we have our student rentals. Who don't love these little pictures, right? So you can make a bunch with this student rentals. As you can see, you don't really need to come out too strong with your pictures or with your setup, because all you need is a space, a corner in the house, or you know, if you add a bulb bag, you know, and a window, you got it, right? You can bring in the student into the house, or you know, whether you house or the property you are investing in. So these are the 3 types of listings you'll find. Okay, now why do we invest in service accommodation? The first reason we all go in there, who can tell me that? I'm sure everybody knows this, because it makes more money than straight rentals, isn't it? The ROI of our investing is a lot bigger, a lot higher, right? We make more money, simply there's more potential for high rental income. It's easier that if there's more income, right? It's easier to attract money partners, because now their ROI is gonna be more significant, so they're willing to come in, right? So that's one of the reasons why we invest here. Another one is because of the control that we take on the property. There is way more control when we own this type of property. The ability to check, we have the ability to check on our investment more regularly. You know, when we have those rotations, those turnovers, we can actually go in and review and, you know, inspect the whole house. We also can plan for repairs and upgrades a lot easier. Like today, for instance, I have one of my Airbnb listings. My guest is living today. Monday, there's a new guest coming in, but then this afternoon and tomorrow, my contractor is gonna go and fix not only a window that is broken, but a fence. So it's a lot easier to plan it that way. I'm not gonna disturb my guest while I'm changing a window, right? Another reason why we do invest is the flexibility that we have with pricing. You know, the idea is to maximize our income, maximize occupancy rate. You know, a little bit different when we talk about midterm, short term, we're talking about occupancy rates. However, with the student rentals, we still talk about vacancy. And here's the thing, we raise prices to increase that potential income, right? And at the same time, we can lower prices to increase occupancy rate, which is going to increase our income. You got that, right? So that's what, you know, midterm, short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, but student rentals. If you have a house, let's say with 5 different rooms, 5 students in the house, 5 rooms, and one of them leaves, what's your vacancy rate there? 20%, right? 5 students, one of them leaves, you got 4 still in there, that's 20% vacancy rate. Well, imagine if that same house with 5 rooms got a big family in there and they all leave. Our vacancy rate is what? 100%, 100%, right? So this helps us leverage a lot and allow, you know, and keep that pricing or that income play with us on our favor, right? It's a great diversification tool or investment strategy. You can diversify big time, because this is a completely different strategy in real estate that can actually complement your portfolio. If you have a non-performing asset, maybe the additional income that this property can bring you will help you cover for the shortage. So it's a great way to diversify, and it's also very easy to manage. I'm sure you've seen, if you have some experience with this, you can do it yourself, not that complicated. Keep in mind, not everything can be done from your phone, but it's very simple, straightforward. And then you can also hire a property manager. It depends really on what your style of investment it is, what you're looking to do, like whether you're going to be an active investor or a passive investor, right? Now, it also makes it, the marketplaces makes it very easy to find tenants or to find renters. All these platforms that you have, even for student rentals, it's so easy to list your property, and many times for free, that you can actually get some valuable leads and fill your space very quickly. It also, most of this platform, and going back to Airbnb, VRBO, all those, Mr. B&B, you can they actually help you collect the rental income and even schedule the reservation. So it's very user friendly and easy to manage, right? Going back to the previous reason for why you will invest in this type of properties. Now, it is suitable for any budget, guys. So you can start with your own home. You can start with the little corner in your place that you're not using. I know here there are a few of us that have a room rented to a student or an Airbnb and is making a killing with that. That is as simple as it gets. You don't have to really buy anything or own anything to get into this strategy. There's not a lot of money required. Now, have you heard about rental arbitrage? Any of you? Awesome. Well, rental arbitrage is another way to get into this modality or this strategy without actually spending a lot of money. You actually rent the place and then find an Airbnb listing or well, find an Airbnb listing or put your listing into Airbnb or something like that, and then you make money. You keep the spread on that, right? This way, you have a service accommodation unit that you control, but you don't own. So controlling without owning, and this is one of the things that we need to all learn to do. The key to this is controlling without owning. No, you don't have to actually own to make money in real estate. I hope you get that there. Now, if you're one of the persons that you actually enjoy having people over and meet people, make new connections, create new create new cultural experiences, this is why you will do this, right? If you live by yourself at home and you just want to have more people over, then this is something you can do. If this is, I love chatting with my guests when they come, and even one of my guests turned into one of my JV partners with me talking to him and getting to know him a little bit. He came twice into my unit, then we started chatting, and then turns out he likes investing. I like investing. We make good friends, and now he's one of my partners. So another reason why you want to do something like this. You also can use it for personal use. Pick your place in the world where you would like to vacation, and voila, Airbnb it while you're not there, or rent it while you're not there. It offers you flexibility, on the lifestyle you might want. It's a great combination between an investment and personal space, right? Sorry. These are some of the reasons why we like to invest in these properties. But now, every investment by definition, guy, has its own risk. And what do we need to be careful with or knowledgeable of? These little ones here. I figure with service accommodation property, there's only 3 major risks that kind of surround everything together, right? First one is short-term leases. That refers to the constant rotation of tenants, guests. One day they're here, the next day they're not. There's inconsistent cash flow. You don't really know how much you're going to make at the end of the month. So that's a risk, right? If you don't make it, then you're going to be probably in the red at the end of the month, and some of that money have to come out of your own pocket. But if you do it, then you're going to have some positive cash flow. That's what you're looking for, right? Now, how to mitigate this risk is by having exit strategies, having all the alternatives. Can you go from short term to mid-term to long term? That kind of stuff, right? You should be able to reduce your expenses in a significant way as well. Offer discounted rates. Are we talking about flexible prices? You lower your prices, then you got more occupancy in there, more income by definition, right? And ideally, you don't want to rely on just one source. So if you're listing in different platforms, if you're looking for different avenues to generate those bookings, hey, that's what it is. I'll tell you my personal story, my personal best. One time I hosted a pilot in the city of London, Ontario, which I thought, why is a pilot in my Airbnb? Like that doesn't make sense, because he came with all the hats and whistles and all that stuff, and it's like, okay. I chatted with him, and turns out he was a trainer. He was providing training to an aviation school nearby in London. So what I did is reach out to that aviation school, and now every time a pilot comes into town to train, they reach out to me to book the place, right? This is how you generate other leads, and you don't rely just on Airbnb platform, for instance. And remember, because of this rotation, you also have an ability and an option to actually inspect the property more frequently, which will help you eliminate some of the risk or expensive costs by not paying attention to a pipe about to blow, a broken window that gets cuts a tenant or a guest or who knows what. So you have more eyes on the ground there. Another one that we all very concerned, and we should all be very concerned, is rules and regulations. City bylaws can change anytime with no warning whatsoever. Oh, sometimes you hear the boss and you're gonna go out there, but there are many ways to still battle with it, to still go around it. I'm not saying illegally, no. I'm saying there are ways to still make your business work. There are plenty of markets that will help you, will offer you a nice and sustainable business. It's matter of knowing your market. Again, you mitigate that risk by knowing the market, by anticipating the market, having the exit strategies that you want, your ability to pivot from mid-term to short-term, or from short-term to mid-term will give you that. You could also add clauses. Now that I'm seeing investors adding clauses to their short-term rental lease, right, agreements, which makes them a little bit more in alignment with the city bylaws. And if I can give you some of the good places in Canada, maybe in the US, to invest in service accommodation property, Canmore, I think it's Tofino, Vancouver Island. My friends from Vancouver will help me with that one. Montreal, Edmonton, Whistler, those are great areas where you could go in there and not having any problem. Now, I was chatting with a friend from Toronto, there's a bunch of legislation now preventing from having those short-term rentals up, but he's making a killing. So there are definitely ways to do it. In the state, Charleston, Christoph, you mentioned Fort Lauderdale, definitely Key West in Florida, Nashville. Those are kind of places that drive a lot of attention and very short-term friendly. Now, another one, damages. Damages is what most people know from Airbnb horror histories, right? Stories where you see people coming in and trashing your place for the one night. Then yes, that can happen with any property, to be honest, not only with short-term rentals. The reason why you see it with short-term rentals is because a lot of people don't really screen their guests. And you can mitigate that by having a good screening process, by having house rules, but being able to quick react to what's happening. How do you do that? Hey, smart home systems, having insurance will also offer you some of that peace of mind. And even your friendly neighbor, if you talk to your neighbor and tell, hey neighbor, if something is going on in this place, let me know. We can call, we can get you, on the safe side, make sure that your kids, whatever, are also good if you just talk to me, right? The higher the traffic, the reality is the higher the traffic in the place, the higher the risk. I have a lot of people coming in and out, chances something is going to break. But if you're prepared, then you will have a way to mitigate that. Now, this is kind of a big overall of the strategy itself, but how do we make money? How do we make
Gustavo?
money? Yes.
Hey, Gustavo, do you mind if I just jump in quickly onto the risks
Yeah.
that you have there?
Let me go back.
I think this is also why we always say that you need 3 exit strategies before you jump into any potential deal. Your first deal, your first chosen strategy, obviously, ideally, is going to be the one that contributes to your financial goals and or the most amount of cash flow. And this is why a lot of people are very drawn to serviced accommodations these days. At the same time, though, you always want to make sure that you take care of the what ifs before you even buy that property, because we've just seen way too many people that really learn it the hard way. Because we know, especially when it comes to short-term rentals, or more commonly known as Airbnbs, a lot of the hosts, really, they did start with one room, but then regulations, so things got really good and all of a sudden regulation turned on them, and then it became their only source of income, and it doesn't work anymore. So this is why, again, Gustavo's really focusing on the rules and regulations. I myself, I live in Edmonton, Alberta, and over the summer, I also set up 2 new Airbnbs here too. And I think this is one of the questions that Jake asked before we started. So we're going to go into that during the Q&A. But which markets are good? Because I see Richard and Christoph, you guys are asking about Kissimmee, Florida. I know I used to call it Kissimmee, but it's not. I learned that it's Kissimmee. And in my opinion, Kissimmee is very, very highly saturated with SA properties. At the same time, though, I do have a couple of friends that are doing really, really well in those markets, and they've shared with me how they managed to do that in the seas of SA properties that are being offered. So we'll tag that in the Q&A as well. So back to you, Gustavo.
Well, yeah, I think that's right, man. I own a property in Kissimmee that had listed for Airbnb, and it was a great house. The reason I left the deal is because I had a few misunderstandings and disagreements with my partner in how we were running that business. But the one thing is, even though we have different opinions, the cash was coming in. So, hey, it's a great place to invest, but I do agree with you, Tim. Right now, I see that it's a place that is saturated with a lot of short-term rentals, and the reason for that is because it's very close to the parks, right, and all that stuff. So, but a great place to invest regardless. Now, here's a little sample I'm going to give you guys, from a small unit, 2-bedroom unit that I have, where rental income, long-term rental income, was about $1,500 a month, which means I could bring $18,000. If I add all the expenses that I had, then my NOI, net operating income, would be 9,500, a little bit above 9,500. That was my number. I turned it into a service accommodation through Airbnb, and then income went to 32,580, right? Expenses obviously went up because now I'm taking care of utilities, I'm providing some amenities, I even bring some cookies to the guests. Once in a while I give them a bottle of champagne, depending on who's coming to my place. management, maintenance. There's a lot more going on in there. Half of in this particular unit, I actually manage myself. For I would say 50% manage myself, because I'll do the screening, but my team does all the fixing, inspection, all that. I haven't been to that unit in like 6 months at least, for the last time I went by. But that's how we do it. But whatever happened here is we actually increased our NOI to 15,700 plus. By just going into that, look, my income, my revenue went up 64%. That's a difference of $6,100. That's 64% increase on revenue. Is that good or not good? Yeah or yay? So that's a little sample of what it is and how you can how can you do this? Well, we actually need more than an hour or 45 minutes to actually go through this, guys. But I'm gonna give you a few of my 12 success keys to have a profitable business in service accommodation. So here's my first one, guys. Customer service is a must. You gotta be top notch. We are in the hospitality business, so a great service give you great reviews, and great reviews create high occupancy. Simple as that, guys. And to me, here's what all starts with your mindset. If you understand the business you're in, if you have the willingness and desire to actually be a host, this is what it takes for you to do it. Customer service skills, right? Now, my second one, be great at communicating with your guests, with your student. Be clear, be honest, set expectations from the very, very beginning. We just said service accommodation units, especially short-term rentals, lives and dies on the review it gets. So checking with your guests upon arrival or by next day, make sure that you're reachable and a quick responder. Same thing with your students. Don't let them hanging. One thing you want to be very, very or monitor your house with the students, because students tend to be a little bit more of a party mix. However, there are ways for you to screen that, and we'll talk about those later as well, right? So there's ways to screen your students to make sure that you don't have those eventual frustrated events. Let's just call it like that. But always listen to them, always listen to the guest feedback and apply changes if necessary. The one thing I also recommend on this topic here is do not take complaints too personal. 100% you're not going to win it all. There always going to be a naysayer, a complainer, someone that's going to say to you that you have the worst place ever, and it's just because they had a bad day. Nothing to do with your place. You could have done everything perfect, but they missed their flight and now your place is miserable, right? So it's got nothing to do with you. So don't take it personal. Rather try to listen, and provide some value feedback, stick to the facts, and don't worry about what they're saying. Don't be mean to your guests, even if they are. Don't be mean to them even if they are. Another key to this is define your market and the type of property you want. We all know this is not rocket science. Location, location, location. And we're talking about places where to invest. Whether downtown, I think Jake was asking whether downtown or outside of the city. Well, there are advantages and disadvantages on both, right? Very touristic cities are gems. A lot of people are coming that way. Remote or secluded areas are also attractive, but maybe a little illiquid. So we got to think that into account, right? How about transportation, for instance? Is it easier to access your place for your guests, even for your own power team members, like your plumber? Can your plumber go and fix something quickly enough? If it's very, very remote, you gotta think about those things, right? So take the time to learn about local laws and regulations. We talked about that earlier on the risk, right? So if you learn those, then you are, and you keep on top of them because they can change, you'll be able to, you know, plan ahead. Another thing you want to do here is define your target as well. Who's your clientele? Is it going to be families, couples, students, business travelers, right? What amenities can you offer to increase your price? You know, if you're looking at students, at least you offer in the space, but at least you give them internet. If you bring in business travelers, you now need a desk or a lamp or some sort of thing to he can sit down for a couple hours work. Families, you know, do you provide cribs? Kind of those things you have to keep in mind, right? Another one thing I would say when you're picking a place is consider natural disasters as well, guys. So a place by the beach, by the river, by the lake, well, you know that there is a higher risk for flood, so plan for those, right? Drier places, you know, we might need to find sources of water as well, but it's very hot, very humid, so plan for those things. And more than anything, does this place that you're looking, does this area you're looking fit your lifestyle? If it does fit your lifestyle, this is a good investment for you. If it's something that you're not willing to do, willing to go, forget about it, move on, right? This could be your getaway home, and it'll make it easier for you to transition between tenants and yourself going in there. Or if this is a place that you don't wish to be or go or see or smell, then why go that way, right? I would say as well, like if, for instance, it's very different owning a condo or owning a house. Which way you go? You got condo board, you got maintenance issues, you got all that stuff. Now, if you have the condo board, do they allow you to do short-term rentals or mid-term rentals? Is it easier for your guests to come in? All those things you gotta think ahead before you actually buy the place. Another key to success, and I can't stress this enough, embrace technology. Is key for business growth, and it's going to make your job a lot easier. You'll be able to control from the distance. You'll be able to monitor your house. It's much more convenient for your guests as well. You could automate even your communication system. You know, automate communication system. I'm very good at that because my messages go, sorry, I can say the name, my Alexa. Got my Alexa here. My Alexa talks to my guests more than I do. I'll tell you that. So smart locks, video cameras, video doorbells, smart thermostat, lighting, smart lighting. Those are all the kind of things that you can use to control your home from a distance, making your life a lot easier and your student or your guest a lot easier. So take advantage of those. Don't be shy. Okay, have a system. You know, do you have a cleaning process? Do you have inventory? Right? You have an inventory list to follow. You have, for instance, my cleaning system, I have a checklist for the clean to be done in certain way every time. So my cleaners know what they need to do when they need to do it. Do I have information or contact information for my power team, my electrician, my handyman? Do I have those handy? Do I know how to reach them right away, right? Where do I get supplies? If I buy a dining table and it breaks, how do I replace it? By knowing where I bought that last one, by knowing where to get it right away. So if you think about those ahead of time, you'll be much better able to generate income right away. Same thing for check-in, check-out. Do you have consistent and clear instructions on how to do it? Assemble a reliable power team, right? You need a property manager. Get one that is good, that knows the market, 24/7 attention. that has the crew ready to go in there. Don't be afraid to negotiate with them. I know some of them are quite expensive, but hey, negotiate. Same thing with your handyman, right? Is it reliable? Be there. Like your cleaning crew, they gotta be there. They're the first line of defense, guy. Cleaning crew is my first line of defense. Pay attention to them. Linings are number one, simplicity for the students. What I mean by that is, it's what you offer is what you get. So for short-term rentals, it's the quality of your linings, how well they sleep, that is gonna be your review trigger, right? So offer the basics and charge for the add-ons, add value, so you can charge higher, but you need to offer the basics. You can lose sorry, you can lose gas by not offering iron. I had a really bad experience just 2 weeks ago. I went to the city of Niagara, and turns out for business reasons, and turns out that there was no iron in that Airbnb. I didn't check if there was. It was actually went into the listing and there was no iron. But things like that, I'm not gonna rent that no more ever. Right? Oh, I think I missed a couple. Did I not? Yeah. Sorry, guys. I think I missed. I didn't know how my pointer went too fast. Stick to a budget. We didn't talk about that. Stick to a budget. So, your budget dictates your pace. Monitor, control it, get an idea how much you're spending on supplies, maintenance, utilities. Make concessions with vendors. That's a great way to reduce expense. Review your numbers regularly. Make sure your finances checked in or checked out. Then we have become your best listing in town. If you're on the first page, it's easier to get you out there in the first page of every platform. Your pictures can make you or break you. Be sure that you need great pictures, and if you can hire a professional for those pictures, that's great. Or if you want to do it yourself, just make sure you have a good phone and do widescreen. Big tip here, don't ever take the pictures from here like we almost do always, like you aim in this way. When you're taking pictures for real estate purposes, from your waist up, that's where you're going to take your picture, right? Make it suitable to what you're looking. So when you talk about furnishing your place, what type of clientele you're looking for. Avoid glass tables, for instance. I wouldn't get a glass table because it's going to break, or those that are quite delicate, or expensive items or antiques. I would avoid that to make sure that I have my budget under control. I don't have to replace those and so expensive. Then we talk about reliable screening process. Do you have one? Do you know how to come up with one? What do you do to make sure that your host is not your guest is not gonna come and damage your place? Something you want to be aware of is last minute bookings. They tend to be the worst. How do you protect yourself? That's a good question. How do you protect yourself? By asking the right questions from the beginning, by being honest and clear with your guests right away. Cleaning and repairs. This is something that I always say: do not negotiate with your tenants, with your guests, to clean or repair something. That's not what you want. That's not what they're there for. So let them go. And if something is broken or needs cleaning or extra cleaning, just let them know and invoice them. It's as simple as that, guys. It's as simple as that. But do not accept or negotiate with them. Now, the last one I want to share here is encourage repeat business and be creative to do so. Like what I told you about my pilot friends. If you get those repeated business, your business is gonna get ahead of the pack. So offer discounts, referral incentive. I have referral incentives. My tenants, my guests, when they come and say, hey, you know, if your friends want to come in, next time you book, I'll give you 5% discount, right? It's a little referral incentive. One of the things, I'll give you this one as well, a little tip here. I communicate with my previous guests whenever I upgrade the property for whatever reason. Like, you know, if I add a hot tub, for instance, hey, my place have a hot tub now. If you want to come back, here it is, right? Kind of reminded that we're there at one point, so they can come back and do the business. It's bottom line to all this. I know I went a little bit fast. Tim, I'm just about timing too. So bottom line is mediocrity doesn't cut it in short-term rentals or mid-term rentals. If you want to stay competitive, guy, you got to stand out from the crew or from the crowd, sorry, and keep profits at even higher level in off-season markets. That's the key to this. There is way to do it. There are plenty of successful business. Here are some of the topics that we're gonna learn during the course. We're gonna talk about mindset. We're gonna decide what the mindset that service accommodation investors need to have for this. Comprehend advantages and disadvantages. Identify ideal markets and type of properties. I named a few of those earlier, but we're gonna learn how to do that. Identify and manage the risk involved around service strategies, service accommodation strategy. Learn how to manage successfully your service accommodation business, whether that's your private with a property manager or doing it yourself. Control it without owning. We'll learn techniques of how to get those under contract, how to go into that field. Build and assemble your power team members. This is not a regular power team member that you're looking at. There's certain skills that you're looking in these individuals that need to be at all times, and be able to implement. Once you're done with this, you should be able to implement the knowledge and the skills and have a profitable business. This is what we'll discuss in class. And as Tim mentioned earlier, the next class for service accommodation is actually at the end of October, 27, 28, 29, during our annual conference. That's it for me, Tim.
Awesome. So as I mentioned, I'm going to share with you a few of the next steps, and then we're going to go into an open Q&A, because I have a feeling that our session is going to last a little bit longer than 90 minutes today, based on the questions that have just popped up, even just in the chat box. And I'm sure it's one of those things that once people start asking questions, more questions will come too. And we're happy to answer all of those at the same time. Really here to highly encourage you, as I mentioned before, as good as we may be here at TYT, we know that this is not a 90-minute thing that we can all learn. It's not a 1 week, even just a 1 week thing, okay? It's an ongoing growth and the upgrading of our money blueprint. We've talked a lot about the annual conference, and here I want to quickly show you what is actually going to be included at the annual conference. Aside from the fact that everyone's going to be fed very well, we're hosting it at the Westin Bayshore in downtown Vancouver this year. That's over the weekend of October 27th, 28th, 29th. So parents, you can still make it home for Halloween. And we also, on the night of the 28th, there is Academy Awards. And this is our once a year Academy Awards, where we come together to celebrate, acknowledge, and recognize the sweat and tears, the sleepless nights, the efforts, and the results, more importantly, that our student investors have created for themselves within the community. And so here, I'll guide you in a little bit. We're all about the head holding. I'm going to show you a picture of what the website looks like so that you can get properly registered. And if you're still on the fence or not quite sure really about what your next right move is, I'm also going to share with you how you can do that. All the webinars are basically introduction so that you can get a better idea in terms of is this the right strategy that's going to help me get to the next level or help me even get started for some of you into real estate investing. We have 5 different courses: real estate investing fundamentals and distressed properties. We focus a lot on the due diligence and the acquisition process. Because again, we always say make money in the buy. The buying process actually is truly what separates the educated versus the amateur. And so real estate investing fundamentals is that course. Creative financing, level 1, as I mentioned, focuses on joint venture partnership structures as well as registered funds, especially for Canadians. And then we have serviced accommodations, which is what we're discussing today. Infill and project management for people that are intermediate and more advanced that are thinking about building. However, they might want to start with a smaller property first, just so that they can get their feet wet. The thing about real estate, though, is that we always say you learn how to walk before you run, and you learn how to run before you can probably fly. I don't know. But the point here is really that everybody's at different stages in their investing journey. And then you are able to really find something that will fit you. And last but not least, US foreclosure buying, as we said. And right now, just because you've made the time to be here, we always say action takers get rewarded. So what that means is, if you're not within the community already and you want to come to the annual conference, we have a special bonus for you. Upon checkout, use the promo code TYT to get 50% off. So now, as I mentioned, we're all about the hand holding, because sometimes it's great, but how do I actually execute on this is the key. And that's why knowledge is no longer power. You know you can use a promo code to get 50% off, but how do you do that is the key here. So when you get onto trustyourtalent.ca, you will see the annual conference registration button here. Once we do that, you can click on reserve your spot. As you scroll through, you will see a lot more details about the conference itself, okay? And so upon checkout, as I mentioned, you can enter promo code, and you can even purchase your admission and course before identifying your course, okay? So TYT rocks, apply code, you get the 50% off right off the bat. So again, for those of you who are already in the community, this might also be a very good chance for you to bring a potential JV partner, family member, friend who you think might be viable business partners with you on this journey too. And so with that said, this is the conference registration page. Also, as I mentioned, I know some of you are feeling maybe a little overwhelmed. They all sound great because they are all great. Which one is the best fit for me? In case you're wondering, we do have 4 strategy coaches on the team, and each and every single one of them is more than happy to offer you the guidance to help you pick the right move. I know sometimes we're stuck in, I got to figure everything out. Everything sounds great, and we get paralyzed. And we always like to say it's analysis paralysis. Now, speaking to a coach is going to help you get clear about your next right move. We focus on momentum and the next right move, because when you've performed enough the next right moves, it's all going to contribute towards the end goal that you're looking for here. And so how you do that, once again, you can go back into to our website, or our strategy coaches that are at this webinar right now, they will be more than happy to share a link with you in the chat box right now so that you are able to speak to one of them. With that said, stay in touch. Many of you are new this weekend, so stay in touch with us. We have our Trust Your Talent YouTube channel, which again, as I mentioned earlier, all the previous recordings are already on the YouTube channel. And over the last 3.5 years now, I've created 3 different seasons of what I call my Daily Dose with Tim. And these episodes cover a lot of investor mindset, approaches, strategies, and how we actually help people create financial independence and financial freedom. We're so excited about our Academy Awards this year. Even though the markets and the economy has been a little tougher, as predicted, every single year we have more and more winners because we have more people making results. And we know that that's just the way it's going to be. As I mentioned, it's not a get rich quick thing. However, it is get rich for sure. And so every year, year after year, we're going to be awarding more and more results. So with that said, Instagram, Facebook, you can also find us on Talented Investors Group on Facebook. So lots of different ways to stay in touch. And so on that note, from my perspective, I just want to say thank you for making the time to join us. And I'm going to pass the stage and mic back to Gustavo. I know there's quite a few questions, and I actually did collect a couple right before we started the session too, because some people, they already told us they're not able to make it live, but they will be watching the recording. So they do want their questions answered too. So Gustavo, back to you. And I think for those of you, if you're open to it, turn on your mic, turn on your camera, ask your questions.
I think there are a couple of questions on the chat that, you answered some of them as well. So in regarding inventory, you back up for inventory, definitely you should have inventory for that.
And there's a follow-up question to that. If so, how do you budget for it?
Great. So, well, you started with what are you offering? What do you want to offer? Like I say, I have I offer a bottle of champagne or wine, sparkling wine, to my guests, but I don't give it to all of them. So I have usually a box in there that helps me keep with that pace whenever I feel like it. When I'm running out, then I just get more, right? So how do you budget for that? Calculate what it takes, how much of the cost that will absorb from you, and does it still make sense to what you rent, your income is, right? So you gotta learn very well what your overnight price is, or daily price is, to make sure that when you do your daily costs as well, or your overnight cost, it's lesser than the income received, right? Overnight, day by day. If you're buying high expensive, champagne, then you might be overdoing it right there. So nothing wrong with a good sparkling wine. That's
so Gustavo, I'm gonna jump on that, piggyback on it. Honestly, I go back to Gustavo with all my questions when it comes to essays. And one of the biggest questions is, do you want to self-manage or do you hire other people to manage? Many of you know my philosophy about this. I don't self-manage anymore, okay? And so going back here though, Amit, what I want to share with you is Gustavo, obviously during the 3-day course, will cover everything in more details. A quick thought process on that is, how do you budget for these things like glasswares, linens, and then daily consumables? It's really no different than going through, let's say, a buy and hold, because a lot of times most of us will go through a BRRRR process, meaning we have to go through the process of adding value. Even if you bought a property that's ready for SA, you still got to furnish it. You still got to stylize it. You still got to bring it up to your standard based on your business decisions. And so a lot of the times that initial purchase and setup falls under no different than, let's say, a renovation budget. That's capital expenditure right off the bat. And then your daily consumables will basically fall under your income and expenses analysis before you get your NOI, right? So what my property management company have been doing, I mean, especially lately, the ones in Edmonton, is that they basically budget based on headcounts. So they will say every single day for this house is $8. Nightly consumables. That house is 15, because usually it'll hold more people. It's a bigger property. And so your daily consumables depends on how you budget for it. It could be breakage, but in this case, we actually are talking about more like, salt and pepper, tea bags and coffees, and maybe even toilet papers and cleaning products, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So
And then to add to that, Tim, like you said, you look at what who's your clientele, right? And what are you offering to them? And then you create that little budget per person, per room, to make sure that you stay within your means. Now, there always be things that is gonna throw your budget off or your inventory off, and you just gotta be prepared for it. For instance, during COVID, one of the things I learned is there was a scarcity of toilet paper. My guests were actually taking the toilet paper with them. So you had to have a bit of an inventory. And then everybody was laughing at my wife when she comes with, 10 bags of toilet paper from Costco, because we were losing it all in our Airbnbs. So things like that happens. You got a budget, you got to learn your business and be able to quickly react.
If I may ask something on top of that, in that case, if there's a shortage of toilet paper, would you go as far as installing a bidet?
As far as what, sorry?
Would you go and install a bidet? You know, the
Yeah.
toilet there that
Yeah, you can that's an option. I normally have 5 roles available in bathroom, in a different, like I have a little bidet there going on. So they're extra for the people. Again, if I know they're gonna be there for a night and it's only a couple, I might not need as many. If I know that there is gonna be a large family, a large group, I probably need a lot more. So you gotta plan for that. And I have a closet which is accessible to the guests with some cleaning materials, right? And some extra toilet paper, for instance, things that are easy and reachable for them. If it run out, I simply tell them, well, there was plenty of supply. You mind getting your own right now? I'll restock tomorrow. I'm not gonna run half across the city just to get the toilet paper, right? If I provided enough. Same will do my property manager. They were not gonna do that. They will charge me an arm and a leg for doing that. Make sense?
yeah, and I think again it comes back down to business decisions. And we always say that every strategy we want to implement it for the long term, because that's what's going to give us the long-term income. Especially with this particular strategy, chances are your income level is going to fluctuate. In some markets, little, in some markets, huge. And the thing about a bidet is that this is something that I can speak to, Asian background, and I grew up with a lot of those electric toilet seats, not the separate ones that you have to actually install, but the ones that basically is just the seat cover that's pre-installed. And in my opinion, knowing I don't have I don't have one of those in any of my Airbnbs, just so you know. And the maintenance of those things over time will run a little bit more. And frankly, I mean, I'm not going to comment on what's happening out there too much and use that as my evidence, even though speculations goes that people need to start wearing masks again. There's another wave of COVID. However, how often did that actually happen? So it's all about running your numbers for the short term and the long term. I do believe that between buying a bidet, installing it, and the maintenance of it, and the cleaning of it, and teaching your cleaning crew how to clean it properly all the time, probably going to cost more than even expensive toilet paper just for a few months. So as an investor, I probably would not do that. That's my long answer.
Yeah, and it comes back to what you were saying before, Tim, is one of the typical questions is, do I manage it myself or do I hire a property manager? Well, that's part of your how you're running your business, whether you're an active or passive investor, whether you can do. The one thing I would say is you do not want to manage if you're not nearby. So don't come out with ideas that you can do it without from the distance, because service accommodations are not to be done from the distance. You need someone on the ground. Now, you could do a lot of stuff from the distance from your phone, but not everything can be done from there.
I think we have Richard.
Richard, yeah.
Gustavo, I think you partially answered my question. I think my question to you is, what are your thoughts and or experience with remote short-term property managers? I have my own thoughts on that, and I think you partially answered that question, but I want to see if you have anything to add to that.
Correct. So Again, it depends on how you want to do it. I personally manage 2 of my units, right? And the reason I do it because they're nearby my place. One, I've been doing it from the very beginning. I like to keep them, they're easy in manage, so I'm okay with it. But the other ones, I have property managers. So I have properties outside of the country that I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna do it. But now, even the one I manage here, Richard, even the one I manage here, like I say, I haven't been there for 6 months. So to me, there's a level of management, right? I do the screening, I do the approving, the collecting, all that, but I'm not gonna go in there and handing keys. I'm not gonna open the door or make sure that there's toilet paper in the unit or clean after they leave. So for that, I have a crew, I have people on, ready to go in there.
So I guess I'll clarify a little bit. I don't think I clarified that. I meant short-term property managers,
Yeah.
like actual companies you hire who are remote, and
Who
they
are-
remotely. So I'm in Boston. They are in North Carolina and they manage Ohio.
So if something happens with the property, who's coming in?
Right. So that's my thought. So you answered that question, but I just wanted to clarify.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah,
why I
yeah.
said you need someone right there
Local, right?
in town that actually can go quickly, because you don't have, when it's short-term rentals, you have hours to resolve an issue. You don't, it's not like, oh, I'll come and get it next month, I'll fix it next month. No, you gotta go and fix the toilet right away.
Yeah. And a
So
lot
you
of these short-term property manager, their value prop is, we're cheaper than the local ones, but
Yeah, I mean, a scale of economies, I guess. Cheaper does not mean best, right? But
right.
I have a property manager that lives in a city and manage my other investments in different cities, but my management company has crew in those cities, right?
Yeah.
So similar to what I'm doing, I'm controlling the bookings, but there's someone in there looking after the place physically.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Suzanne?
Yeah, thank you, Gustavo. I have a two-part question. Have you ever used the app called Turnover B&B, and do you have any other apps that have been helpful to you?
Turnover Airbnb? No, I have not, to be honest. What does that do?
It's an app that your cleaners can use to be accountable for their work. They have to take pictures of everything they've done and send them to you, and they're time stamped. I think it does a few other items as well.
Well,
Do you use it yourself, Suzanne?
I don't, but I've heard of other people using it.
Okay, that's good. We'll look
well,
into it.
I honestly haven't heard of anybody using it myself. Sounds like a good tool to have. However, I have my own procedure, my checklist for cleaning, for instance. So my cleaner crew knows when, what to do, when to do it, how to fold a blanket, how to, pick up towels and all that stuff. That's all with pictures and everything on my checklist. And they have access to my Airbnb calendar, so they know when they're supposed to go in there and fix the place or clean the place. If anything is required, they call my handyman, who is gonna go and get the extra toilet paper, that kind of stuff. So you create your own system. I mean, if there is a tool that actually allows you to take pictures and monitor your cleaning crew, probably good to see. If you have your own system, you might not need it. Like I don't think I'll need, but I'm gonna Google it and I'm gonna learn about it because I'm curious to see what's there to offer, right?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And what was I gonna say? Something you just mentioned. It'll come to me.
Well, yeah, well, you remember, I think Vince, you had a question. You're good now?
Yeah, and Jake.
Oh, I just wanted to, I just wanted to add something to just that inventory list and whatnot. Sometimes I think we might be tempted to buy the on sale thing on the rack. That's like, the cups or plates, and it's like the last one on the shelf. But you got to remember too, maybe that's the last one and it's discontinued. So if someone breaks those plates or those cups, you're like, crap, I got to replace it. And that was the last one. And now I can't find the similar one. So sometimes like even going to IKEA to buy it because you know that they're always going to have the same stuff may make it a lot easier. And instead of cheaping out and buying the one that was like on sale, it's like the last one. Because we ran into that problem where we had those cups and we're like, okay, the guest broke it and we can't really replace it, but we can find something very similar, but it was still like, it's just off matched a little bit. So just something to consider on the inventory list.
Correct. Nail it. And yeah, nail it. You should not only have backup for those, but a way to get those. So I usually buy my glassware and I have an idea of where is, IKEA. So I know if I run out or if I need to replace, I can go to IKEA and get the same product or very, very similar to it. Jake.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So my question that I asked at the start, I want to know, how do you know if you're picking the right market to invest in, and how do you know if that market's saturated or not?
Tricky question. Okay, so I'll start for the second one. How do you know if it's saturated? There are tools. If you go into AirDNA, it will give you a good idea of what it's listed in your town. If you actually go into Airbnb, for instance, you Google Airbnb and you search that area, you'll see how much or how many units, what type of units. So a good analysis of your competition will be ideal there to make sure that that's something that you can provide value with, or an area where you can provide value. It all comes to the word that I just said, competition, right? If there is competition in the area, to me it's good, it's healthy. But now how do you add value to it? How do you bring yourself up to the top? Because if you're not offering what everybody else is offering, it's not going to be, even if you got a place in the best city, town, area, more touristic, whatever that everybody goes to, but your place does not shine as the next one next door, you're not going to be able to profit as much from that, or even profit at all, right? So it comes to knowing what you have to offer and what your competitors are offering. You got to top it up. Does that answer your question in a sense?
Yeah, that does. So essentially you're just using your competition to
Well, you're assessing the
more or
market.
less.
You're assessing the market. You're running the numbers for your own property and see if you actually fit. Not every property is, short-term rentals ready, right? One of the things that I always say when we're teaching the class is, I do not buy service accommodations property. I buy properties and convert it into service accommodation. There's a difference in that, guys. Right? Let it sink in a little bit. Suzanne, you remember your question?
I do. It was you had said that you give your cleaners access to your Airbnb calendar. Is that actually the one on the platform? And if so, how do you do that without them being able to edit?
You can make them co-host, but limiting your their abilities to see or do.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Already. Anyone else? Oh, Jake again. Yeah.
Yeah, I got another one for you. So you were talking about like Airbnb arbitrage. Can you do that if I live in Ottawa and I want to do that in Toronto? Can you do that in a different market that you don't live in?
100%. Going back to how are you going to manage it from the distance? Yes. But yeah, in Ontario, you can do it anywhere in Canada. Anywhere in Canada, you can actually do arbitrage. You gotta be just certain, or you gotta protect yourself by adding a clause into your lease agreement. And the clause should read that you are, or the landlord understand that you're gonna use that property for Airbnb. Right? Protecting yourself from that. But yes, you can do that, Jake.
Sounds like you have to do a lot of prep work to really run your numbers and figure out if it's going to be successful or not, though, eh?
Well, I mean, when you say a lot of work, I would not recommend getting into any real estate deal or any deal whatsoever if you haven't run your numbers, right? Investing, you got to protect yourself, run the number, make sure that it adds up, and then you're going to come forward. So whether that's a lot of, math for you or not, like, you got to do your due diligence. That's what it is, right? And independent whether this is service accommodation or distressed properties or multifamilies, you gotta run the numbers and make sure that the exit strategy you're looking for actually offers you those results, that ROI that you're looking for. And again, do you have other exit strategy you can run with it? So when I'm looking at places, for instance, when I'm looking to buy a property that I want to convert into service accommodation, there are 3 things that I'm looking for. One, does it offer me significant cash flow with service accommodation units? Like, does it bring it up significantly, right? 2, does it work with long-term tenant, meaning long-term rental covers the expenses? Right? 3, can it be sold for a profit? That means, am I buying it I'm buying it with a discount, right? Below market value. So if I check those 3, that is telling me, okay, I'm going in good direction here. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Olu, am I pronouncing that right?
That's great. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. Great presentation. I had a question about the US. I know Florida is super good for STRs, and I am thinking with my investors about that. But I was also thinking about Los Angeles. Do you have any, information about how the arbitrage in particular market is in LA? Because I do spend some time there every year, and so I was wondering like what the market is for arbitrage in particular.
I personally don't have any experience myself, like in Los Angeles. However, I have a good friend. He does arbitrage in a neighborhood called Los Feliz. I don't know if that sounds. So he's making good business there in Los Feliz. Now, the one thing I'd say, like, Los Angeles is a very expensive town, right? So, areas like Hollywood, obviously Santa Monica, you gotta bring them
jump in quickly, Gustavo?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Olu, LA County is huge. Do you have the name of the city?
Pasadena.
Is it LA proper? You're in Pasadena.
Pasadena
That's what you're
is typically
looking at.
where I go, or East Alhambra,
Okay.
which is right beside Pasadena.
Right. Okay. So the more affluent areas.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, I mean, I have a couple of friends that are doing short terms over there. I can check with them. At the same time, my understanding is that it's getting tougher and tougher to do that.
Oh, in terms of regulations, or
in terms of regulations and
Those are
neighbors. Neighbors is a big thing. If neighbors don't have buy-in, you're gonna run people that are gonna call on you are the neighbors when you run short terms. A lot of the times.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's like, and mentioning that, Tim, it's a great idea to make friends with your neighbors, right?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that that got me to work with the short-term manager that we have here in Edmonton is not only because they're good at what they do, is because when they were educating us on how they approach not just the properties, the guests, but the neighbors. They actually do a info session with the neighbors. They will like physically go and knock on doors and go, hey, you know what? The owner of this property is now choosing to convert this, like what Gustavo said, this property into a short-term rental. We're going to be the management company, and we're going to be doing an open house and info session. And we would like you to come to put your mind at ease and how we can actually help the neighborhood be better known and be better. So to me, that's a very, very important factor.
thank you. But yeah, any information you have, Tim, would be great as well.
Okay, yeah, can you send me an email? I know you're in the community already. Just send me an email.
Okay, that's fine.
You know how to get a hold of me. So
Thanks.
Awesome. Richard.
Olu, I have a friend who does Airbnb, who has been doing Airbnb in Santa Monica, and he is exiting that market. He reported that the latest cash on cash for his Airbnb property is about 10%. And he thought 10% cash on cash, you might just do long-term rental in the Midwest. So that's sad. So happy to put you in touch with that particular individual if you're interested.
Okay.
I also have a, yes, okay, of course. Gustavo, I also have, I'd raise my hand for a question, but I can't remember my question now. It's gonna come back to me, so I will just hold off for now.
Okay, we'll do that. In the meantime, anybody else has a question or remembers another question?
I think I remember what I said I was going to share in the Kissimmee market. So again, we always say as investors, investing is an international activity, meaning you can do it anywhere in the world. You can invest in anything. Okay, different asset classes. It doesn't have to be real estate. However, again, that's the point. Investing is global or universal, however you want to say it. Real estate is local. Okay, and so from that point forward, we say we buy for demand. Based on this particular strategy, I know Gustavo just say, I convert my properties into STRs. However, there are people that purposely purchase properties to fit into STRs. And so, like I said, a couple of my friends, I'll share one story because it's the one that I like the most to share. In the Kissimmee market, you got to start to think about your target demographics. And we know, and one of the biggest things is we need to understand that we're not going to capture them all. So might as well have a niche to start with. And so I know what my friend did is that because we're in our 40s and in the 90s, we grew up with certain TV shows. And so I have a friend, and because it's my favorite TV show, that basically bought a house, did some reno, and then converted the rooms into what looks like the Friends apartments. And so they have posters and fixtures, and there's an orange couch in one of the living rooms. And so they know that they stand out. And so I know some of our students actually, they also theme their Airbnbs or their short-term rentals. However, it's just more generic theme. Some people will do, a beach theme. Some people will do a movie theater theme. But in this particular case, how my friend in that sea of thousands of SAs being offered at all times, they managed to stand out and get, I think they're telling me, more than 80% occupancy in that market, which is amazing because they are targeting people that are in their 30s and 40s. Kids or not doesn't matter at this point, but it's the nostalgia factor.
Knowing your clientele, if you target, you'll aim, you aim to a better result. Jake,
hey, Jake, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back to pick your brain again, guys. So you mentioned executive rentals earlier. That's completely new to me. So what is an executive rental exactly, and how would you market something like that?
So similar to Airbnb, executive rentals are a little bit more tailored to high executive, right? So you're looking to probably your client as probably either the high executive directly, or many times the company itself that is going to bring these individuals into the city, the area, right? So how do you market this? There are websites specialized in only executive rentals, no Airbnb. You can still do it through Airbnb. You can still offer that, or you will get executives that way. But there are certain companies locally that actually specialize in that sort of area, where they're actually reaching out to companies themselves, right? So it's a business to business deal kind of stuff.
Okay, I see. So would having like a market, like for example, like a government town, would that be something that you would look to promote those executive rentals
Yeah.
in?
Yeah, a lot of towns, the big cities, those areas that are gonna be developed as well. Like I was Sarnia here, where they're getting Sarnia in Ontario, they're getting a new power plant. So a lot of those high executives need to come. So there are a few executive rental companies that came in and decorated, furnished the house in a nice way, big enough for their family, and that's what they do, right? So, but big towns, but when that the big corporations are there, the big banks, all those huge business, they are the ones bring all the time this type of people, right? The risk with them is you are upscaling a little bit. In a sense, your investment is a little higher now. You do charge higher fees for your night, but then you're looking for a higher demographic.
Is it a higher return?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Do we have anything else? I know we're a little bit beyond the time, team, so I want to respect everybody's time, but
I think we're good, it looks like. So thank you again for joining us, and thanks to Gustavo for sharing everything today. And again, this is meant to help you see if this is the next strategy that you want to learn more about. And we hope to see you at the annual conference. Once again, if you are not quite sure, make sure you reach out to a strategy coach. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your weekend. Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
bye.
guys.
Thank you all.
Bye.